walk over it. Set the bar high.
His goal is inside.
Yeah, you can see it, and you need to see the stretch. In strategy, we call it stretch objectives. Where has the ummah set its bar for its role in humanity? Khayra ummah set the bar, where? Low or high? High. Allah is using superlative language for us. You are the best of peoples, evolved from mankind. This is like moonshot thinking. You know, in another surah of the Quran, Allah shows you and I what can possibly happen the day of Qiyamah, inshallah, for all of us. يَوْمَ تَرَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ يَسْعَى نُورُهُمْ بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَبِأَيْمَانِهِمْ بُشْرَاكُمُ الْيَوْمِ What? Jannat, tajri, the rivers, the gardens. ذَلِكَ هُوَ الْفَوْضُ الْعَظِيمُ. That is the real victory. That is the great victory. We have to set the bar high. We can't be mediocre in the way we set the bar as an ummah, right? So moonshot thinking is about setting the bar high. And I'll give you the example to conclude. I promise you I'm stopping after this. No, I have to stop. This is a picture, it's obviously recreated, of the great event in the 15th century of the conquest of Istanbul. It used to be called what in the old days? Constantinople. And who was the first person to conquer it? What's his name? Muhammad Fatih. Muhammad Fatih, the first Sultan of the Ottomans, right? And Constantinople, up to the 15th century, was known as the impregnable capital of the Eastern Roman Christian Empire. You know what it means? You can't conquer Constantinople. They were so confident, the Romans, they called Constantinople the impregnable capital of the Eastern Roman Christian Empire. Muhammad Fatih, at the age of 16, he planned to conquer Constantinople. Not 60, 16. He planned it for 5 years. 1 month after his 21st birthday, he conquered Constantinople. 1 month after his 21st birthday, he conquered Constantinople. But he used disruptive technology. You see, there's a picture of the cannon that was used to conquer Constantinople, one of the cannons. The largest cannon ever made in the 16th century, 15th century, was made by a Hungarian engineer. Muhammad Fatih found that person in Hungary. He said, you build for me the biggest cannon. He transported it from Hungary to where he came from in Anatolia. He transported it by water together with a fleet of 100 ships. But when he gets to Constantinople, you can't conquer it from the water only. If you know Turkey today, Istanbul, this area where this picture is drawn is called the Golden Horn in Istanbul. It's very close to the Topkapi Palace. So Sultan Fatih, he stood there and he said, we can't conquer them with 100 ships from the land. We have to get into the harbor. It's like I did, you know, I got to draw the harbor for you. And if you travel to Turkey, go and visit this place. The Golden Horn, if this is Turkey, its harbor looks like this. This is the harbor. And all around here are the city walls for Constantinople. It continues. Can you picture it? All this is the ocean. Okay. Across the harbor, they used to put a very thick metal chain at night, the Constantines. So no ship can enter the harbor, because this is the weakest point for Constantinople. But if you get a ship in, you will conquer this area. So what is happening in this picture, he took the ships and he told his army to create large wooden boards and grease it with animal fat and move the ships across into the harbor overnight. This is in history. This is not a movie. He moved 100 ships across the land, over the mountain, into the harbor. So you don't have to break this lock. It was unbreakable. So when the people got up on a Sunday morning in May in the 15th century, then Muhammad Fatih's fleet was already inside the harbor, and so began the battle. Today it is called Istanbul. That battle took about 4 centuries of Muslim rule in the Iberian Peninsula. Subhanallah. Moonshot thinking. He was 21 years old. He started at the age of 16. He didn't set the bar low for himself. What are the youth doing today? What are we doing today as Khaira Ummah for moonshot thinking? We want Allah to give us that on that day, inshaAllah, Bushrakumul Yawm. Have to set the bar high, very high for ourselves. Jazakumullahu khairan. Barakallahu feekum. You've been a great audience. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. You have listened so carefully to all my rambling, and I appreciate it very much. Barakallah.
Perfect.
Barakallahu feekum.
Barakallah.
I'm happy to take some questions and comments with Dr. Shuaib's permission.
About moonshot thinking.
Now,
As you're talking and thinking, Al-Aws al-Khazraj were not given the details of Jannah and Jahannam. One wa'ad only. Lakum al-Jannah.
Lakumul Jannah.
And, wallah,
That was enough.
there is enough. That's moonshot thinking. That's, your goal, what you have to achieve is not here. Moonshot thinking, like you say.
We have to set our target high. It's like that fantastic example, and like the ayah we recited, where that your special nur on the day of Qiyamah, that's what matters to believers. In front of you and on your right hand side. يَسْعَى نُورُهُمْ بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَبِأَيْمَانِهِمْ. If we understand that, then everything else becomes achievable. If that is where we have set the target. Of course, to continue, and I don't want to end on a negative, now, Fadl, just now. I don't want to continue on a negative note. But if you follow that ayah after ذَلِكَ هُوَ الْفَوْزُ الْعَظِيمُ, Allah is warning us about sincerity. يَوْمَ يَقُولُ الْمُنَافِقُونَ وَالْمُنَافِقَاتُ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا انظُرُونَا نَقْتَ بِاسْمِ نُورِكُمْ. Allahu Akbar. This is a frightening part of the ayah. When the hypocrites, male and female, will say to the believers, wait, we want to borrow some light from you today. قِيلَ رَجِعُوا وَرَاءَكُمْ فَالْتَمِسُوا نُورًا. Today you must go and find your light somewhere else. Not for you. Allah save us from that. So we can't be insincere in our efforts. We have to genuinely and meaningfully plant our flag on what is the role of this ummah in the 21st century. Allah is going to hold us to account for that. Now,
first of all, Jazakallah khair.
Barakallah.
You made a rewinding session
Now,
for our prayers.
Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair.
What struck me here now, I mean, if we observe the ummah,
Now,
you and me, maybe we are concerned about what is going on. But there is a big gap between our generation and the new generation. We are still busying ourselves with minor differences. You are wearing long trousers, your beard is trimmed, your hair is that, you visited this, you talked about that, and we are not doing any functional thinking of the future. If you go to the mosque, people are 40 above.
Yes.
No one below. We are making ourselves distance from our new generation. Very distance. Brother Hudayfa, we always talk about, and he always make mockeries of me because I like youth and play with them. And he's waving his Nokia mobile as he stick to the culture and things like that. Is there any way that we could create models? Because our generation, the last generation now, they lack models. If I am good, I'm doing fine, they would think how much money I'm getting, what type of car I'm driving,
How much follower you have?
how much follower in my and that's it. And we are Grecians, we are far away to touch on these things. Is there any way we can do? I'm not saying to bridge the whole gap, at least to throw strings to pull some of our.
it's Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. It's a very broad question, and my simple nasiha would be, I think young people in particular need to be inspired. Because too often we are lecturing to young people, don't do this, don't do that. And that is probably necessary. But if you go beyond complaining about young people, if we go beyond complaining about young people and we actually get better at inspiring them and we open up their hearts and minds, they will find it for themselves, their mission in life. I think too many leaders don't think about inspiring. And we don't think about our duty in inspiring. We always think, well, they are wrong, they don't listen, they're interested in technology, and that precludes us, it stops us from thinking about, are we good enough in inspiring them? That's one. Number two, Al-Quran wa Sunnah. I think a lot of young people are distracted by pop culture. A lot of young people are so immersed, they're in love with what they see in the world that is distracting their attention. Naam. So you see, and we've not been able to frame how beautiful the correct efforts in Islam could be for them. The Quran for them is a book about people 1400 years ago. The Sahaba were like supermen and heroes. They need to be respected, but they're not live examples. So they see a distance. The Salah, it is detached from any action thereafter. But the Salah is not an end in itself. Even the Hajj is manasik, but after the manasik, there has to be action. فَإِذَا قَضَيْتُم مَنَاسِكَكُمْ فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ. But you just finished manasik now. You are tired. But Allah is saying, فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَذِكْرِكُمْ آبَاءَكُمْ أَوْ أَشَدَّ ذِكْرًا. So that means the manasik is not an end. فَإِذَا قُضِيَتِ الصَّلَاةُ فَانْتَشِرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَابْتَغُوا مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ وَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ. But you just finished Salatul Jumu'ah. So if we teach people that ritual is an end in itself, then they pray and they don't think about the action after that. But if we link the prayer as part of the action, but I'll give you a last example, and my answer can't be long because I've spoken for 3 hours. If I take the example of Nabi Nuh alayhi salam as an example, how you and me, we should focus on the outcome ahead of us. He was calling his people day and night, in private and in public, and loudly and softly. And Nuh alayhi salam came to a point where the number of people who believed in him were fixed. Allah made a decision that the rest of the people will not believe. So what did he instruct him to do, subhanahu wa ta'ala? He instructed him to build the ark. So as he was building the ark, and we talked about the Sheikh 2 weeks ago in Surah Hud, as he was building the ark, the people walking past him, those who were mocking him, they started mocking him even more. They said, Nuh, are you going crazy? Astaghfirullah. You're building the ship in the middle of the desert. How's it going to float? Because it was at least 1,000 miles from the ocean. He was building the ark. But Nuh alayhi salam was doing what? Focusing on his effort. Allah said, build the ark. Listen to the Quran, build the ark. He followed the instruction. And then when Allah asked the skies to open up, the water came. And the earth springs opened up. And then the two waters met and the flood started. Everybody stopped laughing. Because they could see now the ark was creaking and starting to move to safety, bi'idhnillah. So he focused, Nuh alayhi salam focused on his mission. What is our mission? Our mission is to be khayra ummah. Our mission is to be on the wasatiyah. Our mission is to inspire young people. Our mission is to make uswatun hasana, common example among young people. Our mission is to make them competent like Yusuf alayhi salam was doing. We should just focus. And I think the issues that you mentioned earlier, when we hear people around us talk about superficial aspects. I wear a suit today. This because in my culture, I dress for business like this. I don't have abaya, I don't have thobe, etc. Culturally, this is my dressing in South Africa. People say, can he really share any knowledge with us? His lihya, they call this designer beard. It's very small. They say it's supposed to be this long. These are externalities. We just pay attention, focus. But I think the key, really, Sheikh, is to inspire young people. If we can crack the code on how to inspire young people in a competent way, inshallah, that gap will close.
Thank you.
I think, in short, we should have to inspiring. Besides, we should be ourselves a role model.
Sah.
A role models for our families. If we are teachers, for our students. If everybody in his field, those who are attached to us, should see a good example of a Muslim citizen.
So.
And then I believe, even role model is more important than lecturing and inspiring by word. What if I say something, I'm not doing it? It doesn't give sense. So I myself, I think it worked perfectly. I'm talking about 45 years old mom with 5 kids. It worked perfectly with my kids that they are, mashallah, following the steps I want them to. Inshallah, they will be members
Inshallah. Inshallah.
Through these 2 things.
Inshallah.
Inspiring, role model.
So.
And I'm focused, as you said, I focus on my mission. I cannot change the whole world.
No.
But I can change my environment.
Sure.
And then everybody with his own environment, we are, like a puzzle.
Fantastic. And this is the prophetic way, barakallah, the prophetic way. He started his da'wah, sallallahu with whom? His family, closest to him. Then he went out to his clan, and then he went out to more people, then he went to Ta'if, and then he went to Yathrib, and then he went to other tribes. So I think there is a logical sequence of how we do the da'wah. I can't change how the Zionist community runs Palestine. I can impact on my community here. So Stephen Covey, the American scholar, he calls it circles of influence. What is your circle of influence? I just want to show you this little, and then Doctor, I'll take your question. If you look at me, Ahmed, this may be my circle of influence. And in my circle of influence is my family, my friends, my colleagues, and people I interact with socially, etc. Isn't it? So this is my circle of influence. This here is what? My circle of concern. I would like to change the world. I would like to change the world. But my impact is limited to my sphere of influence. Now, as I change my sphere of influence positively, then my sphere of influence becomes larger. And I continue, it becomes larger. I'm now getting into my circle of concern. So if all of us collaborate and we share and we grow ourselves and the people around us and we interact with each other globally, then the Ummah circle of influence is growing. See, the diameter is increasing. Insha'Allah, because we are khayra Ummah, this should be our circle of influence. But it has to start somewhere. And what does the Quran say and where should it start? Allah will not change the condition of a people hatta anfusihim, isn't it? So there is a logical sequence as to how we build our sphere of influence. And as the sister says, لِمَا تَقُولُونَ مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ. We can't be preaching all of the time. We have to go back and do our work. Now, Faddal, Doctor.
Now, if you go to Dar al-Ulum, Tahfidh Quran, Madrasa,
No.
it's away from everything about this. And I attend, they call it Salaf or Sunni conference in USA. People
No.
from Medina, from Jamia Islamiyya, from
No.
UK, who graduate from Medina.
No.
2-3 days, they said only Hadith and Quran. There is nothing about economy, nothing about politics. So, from 100,000 in Tampa, Orlando, only 25 attend for 2-3 days. They said every year we make the same. I went to Dar al-Ulum, Buffalo. Then I pulled my son there. 6 months or 1 year, 2 years. If you are Spanish people, I saw some Spanish people crying, or Americans. I want to know Islam. No, please. 5 years Urdu. 2 years, and then Hanafi only. The people Arab from Syria, they are crying. I want Shafi, only Hanafi. And they are sitting in the ground. And then away from politics, from computer, there is no Tawheed, no only Quran without tafsir. It's away from everything. And the BBC had made 1 hour about Dar al-Ulum and some.
You see,
they are different and away from.
yeah, Doctor, I mean,
Try to connect them with the.
Naam, Doctor, I have a comment to make just briefly. I think I said let's inspire young people. But you can't inspire if you're not inspired yourself. Huh? So we have to have the energy. We have to be hopeful. We have to have the courage and the bravery for us to inspire, because people don't just hear us, they see what we do. It's this role model, right? There is a revert in America. Hashman, do you have a question? I'll take you just now. There's a revert in America whose name is Jeffrey Lang. He's a professor of mathematics from UCLA. And in his early, the students on university were calling Jeffrey Lang. So, Professor, you must become Muslim. There were a whole lot of Muslim students on campus. They said, Professor Jeffrey Lang, you have to become Muslim, well, mainly Sudanese students. So they would keep on calling him and he would ignore them. One day Jeffrey Lang, he took them seriously. He went to the little musalla they had on campus and he became Muslim, alhamdulillah. And they said, now Professor, you have to pray with us. Now it's a big mushkila for him because especially Fajr prayer. He said, I am American, I'm white, this culture is Arab, now I got to break my sleep to go to pray. So anyway, he said a few, after, I'm giving you the short story. After a few weeks maybe or days, he got up for Fajr and he went to the Musalla and he prayed with the students. He didn't understand the Arabic and the Salah, etc., but he prayed with them. Then one morning he went for Fajr and as the Quran was being recited, he began to cry. So he's a maths professor, mathematics. So he went home and he said, why did I cry? I don't know Arabic. I don't understand Al-Quran. Why was I moved? As a mathematics professor, he's trying to make logic of it. And his final reconciliation for himself, he said, well, like a baby, newborn baby, cries and is soothed by the mother's voice, even if the baby doesn't understand what the mother is saying as yet, surely the creation of Allah should be soothed by Allah's voice, even if you don't know what Allah is saying. This Al-Quran, if we cannot be moved by Al-Quran, how do we move young people by Al-Quran? So I think we have to be inspired. And when we inspire them, there's a lot of talk and noise. The noise will go away. We remain focused. Now, retraining, yeah, retraining, the Ummah. Sah, Hashman.
I just want to make a small point. Along with inspiration, because you're youth,
Now,
each side, along with inspiration and being a role model, I think it's very important that, the approach as to how we engage with the youth. That we don't speak at them or even to them, but with them. So that you break down that barrier and because we are from different generations, so that you have an understanding of how they're thinking and where they're at, mentally.
yeah.
Before you can actually inspire them or be a role model.
Yeah. So increasingly, thanks Hashman, increasingly the generational gap is seeming more obvious. When I grew up, I didn't see my father in a different generation. But today, children make the generational gap seem very big. Even if you're a young father, your children will say things that will make you feel old. So we are in an era, where the generational gap is being exaggerated. We can choose to either ignore it or work with the dynamic. Let's work with the dynamic. Okay, so you think only old people use Facebook? No problem. What do you use? Instagram. Fine. Let's see. Snap story. Right. Let me see your Snap story. Now, did you use it for good purposes? So I think you're right. We don't tend to adjust because we are fixed on our positions. And we ourselves are not adaptive. But we want the young people to be adaptive. So I think, and really, we need to learn ourselves to adapt and to reframe the advice we want to give in a way that is palatable to the person. Because, there's a line in communication. When you teach communication, there is a line that says, I don't know what I have said until you tell me what you've understood. I don't know what I have said until you tell me what you've understood. So who's the main person in a communication model? Is the recipient. It's like Musa alayhi salam, Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Remove the impediment so that they may understand what I may say.
It could also be misinterpreted.
Sah. Yeah, absolutely. So look, we're talking about many issues: communication, generational mixes, dealing with the community, retraining of the youth, the ulama, darul ulum, etc. I think we have to ask Allah for guidance because we're human and we have limitations. Ask Allah for guidance, be inspired by the Quran, go to the Sunnah and understand the contemporary implication of the Sunnah. And then I think we need to do all of these other things at the social level, especially with if the family unit is strong, the Ummah is strong. I once spoke at a wedding. You had a question earlier on.
No, it was a point I wanted to add, but it resonates more with what he
Is it covered?
mentioned.
Okay.
Because what I wanted to basically mention was the fact that I think the only way the elderly people, the older generation can actually impact us, the young generation, is when they borrow our classes.
Okay.
And first look at what we see before they try to make us what they think will be best for us. Because I think what they know to be the best person
Yeah.
or the best personality
Yeah.
is quite different from what we may necessarily perceive. So I think they need to have that learning curve first
Yeah.
before they can teach us.
It's I guess it's a collaborative thing. You need to wear their specs and they need to wear yours. You know, when the Prophet ﷺ was seeing Mu'adh bin Jabal off to Yemen, you know, and he was giving him his final marching orders and he's walking him out of Medina, ﷺ, he gave Mu'adh all the advice, you know, how to judge over the people, etc. And he said, Bashiru wala tunaffiru. Yassiru wala tu'assiru. So yeah, so there's advice on both sides, right? But the story I wanted to give you, you know, I spoke once at a nikah, and I was saying to the young couple, your role in society as the new married couple is like the archers at Uhud. You know, at Uhud, you know how the battlefield was laid out in Uhud? Stay put, Hudhaifa. Don't move from your positions. Why? Because the army was at stake. And if you look at Uhud, if the mountain of Uhud is there, the enemy was coming from this side, and the Muslim army was here, and there's a little hillock, Rumma, huh? It's a small hill. So the Prophet ﷺ placed 50 archers on this little hillock. On that side they were secure with the mountain. This is the army and this hillock. So he said the weak spot is behind the army. If somebody comes this way, they will attack the army from behind. So the Muslim army is facing this way, and he placed the 50 archers. He said, don't move until I instruct you. And you know the story. So when the initial success on the Muslim side, and they saw the enemy retreat, the archers began to debate. They said, look, the battle is over. We can see the booty. The women are now exposed. And some of them left. Some say 20 left, others say 30, some say 3 only were left behind. Allah knows best. So who saw the opportunity? Khalid bin Walid. And he struck the army from behind, and there were many shuhada. So I said to the couple, you are like the archers. If you stay put and you maintain your marital life strong, inshallah, then the army is safe from behind. Society will not be destroyed. But if you move and you do things that are inappropriate in Islam, then the back of the ummah will be at risk. Young people are like the archers. They have to look after the back of this ummah. The old people, the senior people are fighting this battle, but the young people are the weakest form. We will be at risk as an ummah if these people don't play their role. The young people don't play their role. So we have to look after the youth. We have to look after young married couples. We give them nasiha, and they can't move. They must stay put so that the army is safe, and this ummah, inshallah, is safe. Let us conclude. Now.
About making role models.
Now.
The greatest role model was also advised to take or to have a role model.
Subhanallah.
أولئك الذين هداهم الله
Ay.
فبهداه مقتدي.
Sah.
These
Sah.
are the ones that Allah has guided and follow their footsteps.
Beautifully said.
Imagine.
Beautifully said.
يعني وما بالنا.
Sah.
وجعلنا متقين إماما. Not for anyone, for the متقين.
متقين إماما.
Some people, you know.
I think to conclude, brothers and sisters, I humbly submit to you that we have taken the primary sources of knowledge in Islam for granted, the Quran and the Sunnah. We have left them as ritual things, and we have not seen its integration in modern life. So the Prophet ﷺ, we praise him and love him, but he lived in the 7th century. So we don't believe, some of us, that his example is contemporary, ﷺ. And the Quran is for Salah and for Ramadan and for Taraweeh. And in South Africa, when people pass away, we read the Quran. The Quran is not for the dead people. It's for living people. So it's not live for us. The Quran is not a live document for us. Now? So, yeah. So I think in concluding all of the things we've said, the moment we reintegrate the Quran and the Sunnah as live and contemporary, will fundamentally change our view on the world. Fundamentally, we will change our view. Jazakumullah khairan once again. It really was a pleasure.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
Brother, we have a lot of leaders in Islam, but I've seen few as professional as you.
Barakallah.
You are a gift from God
Barakallah.
to the Ummah,
Barakallah.
and you encourage me and you encourage everyone here.
Barakallah fiqh.
Thank you, brother.
Jazakumullah khairan.
Amen.
Barakallah. Jazakumullah khairan. Barakallah. Jazakumullah. Thank you very much.
I've been requested to actually thank Sheikh Ahmed.
Ahmed Shaikh.
Ahmed Shaikh. I wanted to tweet you for it. Yes. On behalf of IPCI and obviously on behalf of the student and Dr. Shuaib, inshallah, we really appreciate the lesson. And alhamdulillah, I'm glad I did come myself because this is a dynamic change in the thinking and also what we can necessarily do. And I hope this information actually resonates with us all from all these different generations, inshallah, that we can take it forward.
Inshallah.
So as the brother suggested, we will take a group photo, obviously, with Mr. Ahmed, inshallah. And
who is the lover? Who is Ar-Rahman? Who is Al-Mannan? La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. Muhammad is the messenger to Allah, is